together. Come love and be loved. From the blessed out to the turned out. From the pampered to the abused. This door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. God in you. Whether you're black or white or gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you.
Good morning, Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this morning? You know, if we ever change the song, I'm going to get up here and do this, and nobody's going to know what it means but you. This door is open. So thank you so much for coming this morning. Those of you joining us online, thank you. Good morning. Hello. Everybody wave. Raise your hands and wave. There we go. Because what we know in this community is it doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters to my heart. But if you're not physically in the room, it doesn't mean you're not here with us. Because what we know is that in spirit there is no time and space. There is only love. There is only connection. There is only that power of life that we all share. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So this morning, our practitioner on platform is Dractuella. And you actually have to change your program from RSCP, which means Religious Science Practitioner, to Reverend Drac. He was recently affiliated with Centers for Spiritual Living. All right, so that's very exciting. We'll do a little bit more about that, tell you a little bit more about him when we have our annual meeting, which is coming up in a couple of weeks in February. You have a little announcement in your bulletin about the date. So we'll do a big party then. But for now, let's keep going. We've got music. We are welcoming back Dennis Bryan and Leslie, here to give us a little oomph in our day, a little pick-me-up. And we're going to start by getting centered, shall we? Let's take a couple moments. Take a couple breaths. If you're comfortable, close your eyes right where you are, breathing in that sense of life. And the resonance of the bowl follows the breath into our heart space. That place within us which knows the divine, which knows peace, which knows love.
So as you sit in this heart space, in this centered place, noticing your breath moving in and out of your body, notice how the weight of your body feels in your chair. Notice the little sounds around you, the little shuffles, the sound of the music just gently humming and pulling you on. And as you hear and feel these things, know that God is present here through each sound and even each small sensation. Each one an expression of the divine, never to be repeated exactly the same way. And this divine expression is moving through me and my words, through the musicians, and each note being played and to be played, because time moves forward and back and all around, it's all the same in the higher place of things. It expresses through Reverend Tracy's presence and the message she will share in her presence right now. It moves through each breath you breathe. This is a sacred moment in time. So we understand from a cellular level that God is present with us. Yes, we rest in the knowing that God is present in all things. And we are grateful for this understanding, knowing it is so. This is a reading from The Universe is Calling by Eric Butterworth. I love this. I had saved it years ago, and then I stumbled on it and thought, oh man, I've got to read that. So it starts with a story which I love. A little boy was separated from his scout pack. The rest of the scouts searched for him for hours, eventually notifying the police who called on the community to join the search. After he had spent a night in what most persons would consider to be a frightening experience, the boy was found, sitting under a tree, calmly whittling with his scout knife. He was asked, "Weren't you afraid out here in this lonely place all night?" He replied, "Nah, I wasn't afraid. God is here." He was asked, but how do you know God is here?" "Because I am here." At that moment, he had the insight of the presence of God and of his oneness. He may lose it when in Sunday school they deal with a God of the skies to whom you pray and from whom you beg for help. But at that moment he knew, wherever I am, God is, and I am. We might consider prayer equipment of a more personal kind, such as hands to fold, knees to bend, head to bow, a voice to speak. But amputees or people who are crippled cannot fold their hands or drop to their knees or even bow their heads, but they still can pray effectively. And a mute is not restricted because he or she cannot voice his or her prayer in words. Thus, the only equipment involved in prayer is that which you have wherever you may be, your mind. As Charles Fillmore says, the mind is the connecting link between God and oneself. I'll say it again. The mind is the connecting link between God and oneself. Actually, there is a sense in which you do not have a mind. What you call your mind is actually a state of consciousness within divine mind. Your consciousness may identify you on and with various levels within divine mind. As Emerson says, prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. In other words, prayer is lifting up your self-identification to a higher awareness.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me again. When I close my eyes, I see all that life can be. 'Cause it's already there, it's already shared in spirit. When I choose to clear my mind of all the weight of outside, and one becomes all collective and tall between us. 'Cause there is strength in numbers, there is faith that answers now. If we make our voices heard by ourselves, we will find there is love, there is joy, there is peace. There's a choice to change our thoughts. We can create. When I quiet all my doubts, the truth of life comes out. 'Cause it's already there, it's already shared in the oneness. 'cause there is strength in numbers. There is faith that answers now. If we make our voices heard by ourselves, we will find there is love, there is joy, there is peace. There's a choice to change our thoughts. We can create sight when we are blind, and light when roads are dark, and all that we decide now. There is love, there is joy, there is peace. There's a choice to change our thoughts. We can create change.
Okay, I'm speechless now. Thank you. We're done. That was beautiful, Dennis. Thank you. That's Dennis's original music. We can create change. So today I'm going to light the candle for healing. For there is certainly a call for healing, for wholeness in our world right now. There's so many things happening, and it seems very close to home, that cry out for love, for peace, for a knowing of a greater way, a knowing of a resolution. And you know, science of mind doesn't teach us to not look at the world, to not look at illness, to not look at problems. What Ernest Holmes says specifically is that when you are in prayer, then turn your thoughts away from what seems to be wrong, what seems to be the struggle. But we are meant to bring our spiritual awareness into the world. We're meant to know love and peace and a deep joy so that we might show up in those situations that call for prayer, that call for more love, that call for healing. And so for those people who are dealing with relationship issues, with health issues, for our communities that are dealing with tragedy, for families that have lost someone that they should not have lost, we speak a word of healing and wholeness to know that what we are about in the world is to bring the compassion that we are to every situation, to every conversation, to every interaction. And in that way, we continue to lift up, to light up, to create a place where healing can happen because we bring it with us. That's the light that we are. So today, the title is Pick a Page. It's Fifth Sunday, which means nothing at all, except for me, it means all bets are off. Let's do something different. So what I have here, if you know this from before, I have an assortment of books, and we're going to call out which book you want me to pull from. Somebody will call out a page number and a paragraph, and we'll see what it says, and then we'll talk about it. And should what I read engender questions or challenges in you, I would hope that you would tell me and the conversation can continue. This does not have to be a one-way street today. So let me tell you the books that I have. I actually have 6 books. I know that's a lot, but I couldn't decide, so you get to decide. So I have a book called Florence. This is The Wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn, She's a New Thought writer. Her language is, she's of the time of Ernest Holmes, so her language is pretty traditional, a little Christian leaning, but it's definitely New Thought principles, so I thought we'd bring a different voice into the room. So you can call out Florence, and we'll read from this book. You can call out Journal. This is the book that I read from quite a bit in my talks. I quote from quite a bit. The Joyous Living Journal, which was put together by two of our elders in the movement, Petra Weldis and Christian Sorensen, and it's a daily guide with quotes and questions and meditations and lovely things in there. So you can call out Journal. You can call out 365. You know this book. This is also a daily guide, and we'll see what the page is that we end up on. You can call out Life, right? The Art of Life by Ernest Holmes, very practical book. Basic Ideas of Science of Mind, you can call out Ideas, we'll pull from this book. Or if you just want a definition of something, this is How to Speak Religious Science, you can call out Word. And we'll look up a word and tell you what it says in here. So you've got Florence, Journal, 365, Life, Ideas, and Word. All right, so somebody want to start us off? Call out one of those. Journal. All right. I need a page. Actually, I don't need a page number because there are no page numbers. I need a date. Anybody? November 6th. All right, November 6th says, radical responsibility. The quote is, maturity means being emotionally and mentally healthy. It is that time when you know when to say yes, when to say no, and when to say whoopee. And then I love the whoopee because then it goes into spiritual maturity is about living in balance between the various values you hold dear. It's knowing that every spiritual question or truth finally resolves itself into the paradox that all sides are right from a certain point of view. This means there's no one way to act or be all the time. You must be able to move in harmony with seemingly opposite spiritual instructions and know when and how to apply them. It's the ability to take radical responsibility for your life while being loving with yourself. This means learning from your mistakes without shame or blame. It means enjoying your successes without false modesty or pride. It means praising the good in another's life without envy or comparison. Most importantly, it means being who you are with confidence and joy. You can do it. It only takes practice. So this is the idea that, I think we sometimes get caught up in the idea that Ernest Holmes said that we control the conditions of our lives through the power of our thought. And yes, in a certain sense, that's true, but we do not control everything that comes up in our lives. It simply means we deal with it differently. We have power over what that perspective is that we use and how we choose to approach and what feeling element we bring into the situation. So we are flexible in the sense that when something happens, we are at choice on how we want to understand it, how we want to learn from it, how we want to show up, and we are the only ones responsible for how we show up. If you don't like the way you react to something, you can change it. It doesn't matter how long you lived in the dark, what kind of cave you were brought up in, how many things happened to you on the way to now. What matters is that you realize you have a choice in how you choose to respond, and that's that spiritual maturity that they're talking about. We can say yes, we can say no, we can say whoopee, we can get mad and fight, or we can give way and love. It's all up to us. Part of our spiritual practice, not perfection, practice. Okay. Ideas, word, life, Florence, Journal, 365. Life. All right, I need a page number from 1 to 160. 12. 2. The spiritual gifts which people have so earnestly sought after out of the anguish of their incompleteness are not something which a reluctant deity has withheld from man. Quite the reverse. They are something which we in our ignorance have withheld from ourselves. Life is not vindictive. It's not withholding anything from you. It's not even waiting until you're good enough to receive. Life is love, beauty, and wisdom, as well as energy and imagination. You will be able to use its power in exact proportion as you embody its essence. The one who would heal hate must first learn to love. And isn't that what the world is calling for? You know, it's not about, that righteous anger that gets triggered in all of us is not about vengeance, right? It's about action. It's about translating where we are passionate into what it is ours to do. How do we bring light and healing to the world, to a relationship, to ourselves? We think we're not enough. That's kind of what our culture teaches us, right? Advertising is an amazing parent. I don't recommend following its advice. But when we really get it, that nothing's being withheld, it's just a matter of our being able to change our perspective, our being able to apply what we know about the greater reality to the current situation, then we begin to be a healing force for ourselves, for the world. We can show up for others as a place of peace if we ourselves aren't always beating ourselves up inside, right? It starts here, always. That's kind of the answer to everything I'm going to read today, so I'll try to vary it as we go along. All right, next one. Florence, page 3 to 365. 10. All right, this is from her book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. I'm going to find the paragraph that works because, this is the end of a chapter. So let me see what I can find. All right, the subconscious mind is a faithful servant, but one must be careful to give it the right orders. We have an ever silent listener at our side, the subconscious mind. It's like a toddler, right? They hear everything you say, whether you think they do or not. Your subconscious mind is always listening to what you say and what you feel. Every thought, every word is impressed upon it and carried out in amazing detail. It's like a singer making a record on the sensitive disc of the phonographic plate. This was written a while back. Every note and tone of the singer's voice is registered. If he coughs or hesitates, it's registered also. So let us break all the old bad records in the subconscious mind, the records of our lives which we do not wish to keep, and make new and beautiful ones. That too is a choice. And if any of you have graduated from therapy, you spent a lot of time probably in the 70s and 80s getting rid of old tapes. Anybody else of the old tape school? Figuring out that voice, that critical voice you hear in your head is a parent or a teacher or someone who wanted to do right by you but was really clumsy about it. You get to change that. We all get to change that. And we do that for each other as well in community. If there's a disagreement with someone, say, in our group, and there's a misunderstanding, one of the wonderful things about what we teach is that if I come to you and say, you know what, I really think I don't think I understood you right because I don't think you'd be mean to me on purpose. And you go, of course not, I wouldn't. We can talk it out because what we know is that life is for us. It's not vindictive. It's not withholding. People, for the most part, are good-hearted. I am good-hearted. Let me use my good heart to live my life. And you too, and invite you to do the same. We can choose to let go of those old tapes that hold us back or that tell us that we're not enough because they're wrong. Okay, next. Life, ideas, words. 365, okay. I need a date. December 1st. December 1st. I am resolved to see the good in everyone and in every event. And the quote from the Talmud is, "Not God, but ye yourselves are the creators and supporters of moral evils." Light can have no union with darkness. Evil has no affinity with good. If good is the great reality, while evil is the great negation or denial of reality, then it follows we should see the good in everything and recognize the apparent evil merely as a theoretical opposite of good. There is not God and something else. The divine spirit inhabits eternity, overshadows everything, including human events, dwells within our own soul, and is released through our own act. To see good as evil is to becloud our vision, to obstruct the pathway of our progress, and to cast a shadow across the sun of righteousness. The spiritual sun was the guiding star that led the Magi of old to the place where the little child lay, that is, to the place of good in our soul, to the presence of God at the center of every person's being. The humility of the manger is the commonplace in every person's life. It is here, in the commonplace, we must find the good, and finding it here, we shall also discover that the larger issues of our experience are overshadowed by this same good that we have discovered in the commonplace. We're not meant to wait for the hereafter. We're not meant to put up with everything in life and in the hopes that, once we die and get to heaven, it will be beautiful and all things will be resolved. We are meant to live here and to know that the kingdom of God is at hand, meaning the awareness of unity, the energy of love is right where we are. And that we find it in the everyday when we choose to look for it, when we choose to see it that way. Have you ever had an experience where you're, doing something you do, you're driving to work, or you're, walking the dog, or you're something you do all the time, and the light catches something and it catches your eye, and it's just, wow. The other morning I was driving to work, and I know I've said this before, but it still strikes me like something new every time. I'm on one of the freeway flyovers, where you get to go in the lane that goes way up high above all the cars, and all you see is the vista out before you. And what I saw was the sun coming up behind Saddleback. Now, Saddleback Mountain has been part of my scenery since I was born. I was born here. The sun coming up, it pretty much happens every day. If you look at my phone, I have at least 10,000 pictures of sunrises and sunsets. It's a thing. But to come up and over and to see it laid out and to have a few palm trees in front of that orange sky, it's like, you know what? If I were on vacation, I'd be saying to myself, oh my gosh, this place is so beautiful. It just feels so good to be here. So here I am in my car, and it feels so good to be here. It's in this common place that we recognize the beauty of all life. It's in our common conversations that we find the love that Spirit is. This is who we are, right here, right now, always. Okay, next. Life. From 1 to 160. 34. It was a good year. Not 1934. I wasn't here for that. I meant my 34. It's all perspective, people. Okay. The genius of the new science of spirit, which is destined to save the world, is its direct approach to God and its conscious use of God power in every activity of living. You could just as easily substitute the word life for God, or the word love for God, or the universe, or energy, whatever works for you. Jesus used this power directly and spoke it into being consciously. And because he had perfect faith in it, he performed miracles. He healed the sick, raised the dead, stilled the wind and waves, and brought the boat immediately to the shore. You and I can do the same thing if we believe that we can, because he said that all things are possible to those who believe. He viewed life not as a physical fact, but as a set of spiritual laws. He thought of life, capital L, as an invisible interior presence, ever responding to us, but of a necessity responding to us through our belief. He believed he was a child of God. He believed in the power of his word, and his belief was justified by his works. No one brought up in the Christian philosophy doubts the power which Jesus exercised, nor the authority with which he used it. And I think the important part of this message is that that same power is the power of life that we have. I know as a girl I was taught that was how Jesus lived, and he was special and he was different, and the rest of us should try to measure up, but of course we never would. I don't know why I grew up thinking I wasn't enough. Somehow that just never occurred to anybody that might be the result. But what he's saying here is that we have that same energy of life within us. We get little glimpses of it when we have those miraculous moments in our own lives, when something works out unexpectedly well, or we receive an unexpected windfall sort of out of the blue. And yet truly, the more we practice, the more we understand how our own mind works, what our own filters and biases are, then the more we can choose to open up, to be more inclusive, to be more welcoming, to receive and see more of the good, we too will increase the power we have to live a good life, to live the life that sustains life. And that's really what we're all looking for, right? Isn't that just another definition of love? We have the power to open up more, to understand more, to transcend more. And that's what we do. That's what our practice brings us to. Ways in which we can understand and transcend. So far, so good? Having fun? Okay. If anybody online wants to put a little something in the chat, or however that might work, I don't know if you can do that. Yeah? Okay, let me know. All right, so let me review our topics here. We have ideas, word, 365, journal, Florence, and life. Word. What page? 5. The purpose of this book. Let's try another page. Well, I'll tell you what it says. It says, the world is tired of mysteries, does not understand symbols, and longs for reality. What is reality? Where may it be found? How may it be used? These are some of the questions we should like to have answered. That's Holmes from the text. The book has been created to assist the person who is on the path of self-discovery in revealing the answer to the above questions. So, next page. 17. The word is consciousness. What and where is consciousness? You know you want to know this, right? Our consciousness is our mental awareness. It's both the conscious and subconscious mind and all they contain. In essence, our consciousness is simply the sum total of everything we've ever believed and accepted as the truth about ourselves from the moment we were born until this moment in time. Our consciousness is how we make use of the individual mind. It's like what we turn the Play-Doh into, because I know my Play-Doh is different than your Play-Doh. Our consciousness forms a belief system into which life pours itself. We can change our consciousness through spiritual mind treatment, prayer, and the ultimate consciousness we want to develop would embrace an awareness that God is all there is. So while it's true that love and peace and wisdom and beauty and joy exist everywhere all the time, our experience of it comes through our beingness, our individuality, our belief system. So what I might see as beautiful, you might not find so pretty. Or what I might think is a wise saying, you might think is a crock of something. But the truth is, truth, love, beauty, peace, joy, wisdom, clarity, all those wonderful things, are all available to all of us all the time in infinite number of ways, and it's just like light refracting through a prism. We are the prism that changes the color of the light as it passes through us. So if you find that your light is cloudy over here, or there's too many dark colors over here, or, there's a lot of yellow but you hate yellow, you can change your own filters. You can change your own beliefs. You can change your own thoughts. You can decide to see something differently. You can take a class and learn something new. You can meet new people and laugh at different things. We are always available to create and co-create and recreate the life that we live. Because the life that is in us is infinite. We're the ones that are finite. And we have a choice. We have power. We have volition. We can choose a direction. We can decide anew. And life will pour itself into the new mold that we create. So when I'm willing to say, hey, most people just want to do the right thing, I'm going to start seeing people doing the right thing. And when I say to myself, people are really hurting, I wonder if there's something I can do. The universe will show me what I can do. It comes from here. It changes how I express in the world. But the light is the same light that we all share. Okay, next. Ideas. Page 41. You determine your welfare. See, I just said that. One mind. In the very beginning of the Bible, we find that man was given dominion over every living creature. To be sure, he did not become aware of this instantly. It's taken him eons to begin to realize it and start making it an actual fact. It is a statement of God's relationship to man, and in spirit, it always has been true, just waiting for man's awareness of it. Again and again, we find statements in the Old Testament beginning with the words, I have given thee. It does eventually come to pass as an actual fact, but it has always been a truth. We need to keep clearly in mind the difference between a fact, something that is evident and concrete, and a truth, which everlastingly is, whether we can see it or not. It took man a long time to become aware of his dominion over all animals. Still more slow has been his conquest of conditions, but that's because he's been so involved in his conquest of himself. The old Greek advice, man, know thyself, is even yet a profound significance to us all. We need to more fully know ourselves if we are to lead successful, happy, and useful life that we desire. We see the necessity of knowing ourselves better, of understanding our spiritual power. We must also know the relationship of our mind, body, and emotions so that we can control them wisely and direct them for our own welfare. All right, so part of me has a little problem with this. We have dominion over everything. Because we think that dominion means power over. I kind of think that that's what allows developers to go in and, tear up a perfectly good ecological swamp system and turn it into another high-rise because we need so many more of those. So I think that to understand dominion is to realize that it's not power over something. It's not control of something. What it is, it's the ability to respond to something. It's the ability to not be the victim of what's in the outside world. Okay? Because if I don't have dominion, if I feel powerless, it's because I feel that things are happening to me, right? That I have no say in the matter. And the spiritual teaching is that you always have say in the matter. You are not a victim of life or a victim of whatever predator by any name is out there. But it takes an awareness. We have to know ourselves in order to know our power. We have to know ourselves in order to know how we can be in the world effectively, lovingly, in a nurturing way, rather than in a combative, eat or be eaten kind of a scenario. We don't have to live with the lizard brain in charge, right? That fight or flight or freeze mentality that you say something to me and yeah, what of it, and you're ready to fight right away. We don't have to do that. That's dominion. Dominion says, you know what? I'm powerful right where I am. I can be effective in life as myself. And the more I know myself, the more effective I am, and the less fighting there is. Any questions on that? That's a little tricky to me. But yeah, you don't get to rule the world just because you have dominion over the planet. All right, what else? Which one? Florence. Page number? 27. All right, let's see. Okay, so a friend asked a woman if her little girl had the measles, and she replied promptly, "Not yet." This implied that she was expecting the illness and therefore preparing the way for what she did not want for herself and her child. However, the person who is centered and established in right thinking, the person who sends out only goodwill to his fellow man and who is without fear, cannot be touched or influenced by the negative thoughts of others. In fact, he could then only receive good thoughts as he himself sends forth only good thoughts. This is that fine line of what religious science is and what it is not. If you use science of mind like a weapon and you see someone in distress, your first question will be, what did you do to bring that on yourself? What's wrong with your thinking? Wow, you really need some more affirmations. It's like, this isn't really helping me with my cancer treatment. It's not kind. It's not true. It's not what we teach. There is power in expectation, and all the time we are careless with our language as to what we think is happening in our world. How many times do you say, "Oh, I'm so tired"? Okay, yeah, and is that really what you want to claim for yourself? You could say, "Wow, I'm going to feel a lot better after a little nap." Different energy. It's not that we don't get tired, we do. But what you claim and expect, you are drawing to yourself. It doesn't mean you can never get sick. I mean, some people do, I suppose. Most of us aren't that good at this thought thing, you know. But it does mean you can minimize how many times you catch a cold. I told the story a couple weeks ago from Patty about how she used to say she gets the flu every flu season. And somebody finally suggested, why don't you stop saying that? And she hasn't had the flu since. So we have power in our words, but we are not meant to use blame or bludgeon ourselves with what happens in our lives and fully blame ourselves, because the thing is, we are subject not only to our own convoluted thinking, convoluted upbringing, weird filters in place, we're also subject to the collective consciousness, right? The collective consciousness, what all humanity believes to be true. Unless we consciously choose a different way, we're going to succumb to what everybody thinks. Here's an example. In this country, thin is good, fat is not. If you live in Samoa, that is not true. Totally not true. Thin is you're sick and you should eat more. I'm going to move to Samoa. So we're subject to collective consciousness, what Holmes calls race consciousness, meaning all of humanity, as well as our own personal direction. And we have power right here in our own personal lives by consciously choosing something different. So no, you don't have to say you're going to get the measles just because every other kid on the block. Some people never got measles. I don't know that that's a good thing, but I do know that I want to be on the side of positive and healthy and wholeness and powerful. And if I still get the measles, then I'll take a rest and take my medicine and, sleep it off and wake up without spots eventually. But I won't struggle with it, and I won't call it to me on purpose. You see the difference? It's an energy thing. We're not so good. Even Holmes says we're not so good that we can control every single thing that happens. So don't blame yourself. Hold yourself accountable for how you choose to respond. Hold yourself accountable for how you choose to talk to yourself, to other people. Be aware of what you put out there in the world. In the 70s, there was a transactional psychology, right? Transactional analysis was a way of framing how human beings communicated with each other. And there was a game that people would play called Ain't It Awful? Right? And one person would say, oh my God, did you hear? Brrr, gossip of some sort or a terrible news story. And then people who played that game would jump in with something even more awful. And then the next person would have something even more awful. And eventually the whole break room at work was filled with awfulness. And it was an energy thing that people would sort of feed off of. And the purpose of the psychology was to say, you don't have to do that. You don't have to play that game. If something awful is brought to you, you can respond differently. You can respond from a place of caring. Oh my goodness, is there something going on in the community that's helping these people? Oh gosh, does that mean that your neighborhood watch is going to do something different now? You can stop that game in its tracks, right? So we have the power to control the environment that we live in based on the personal choices that we make. Okay, what else we got? We have time for a couple more. Sorry? Journal. How about a date? January 15th. The joy factor. The quote from Holmes, I love this quote. There is a laughter of God, let's laugh it. There is a song of the universe, let's sing it. There is a hymn of praise, let's praise it. There is a joy, a beauty, there is a deep, abiding peace, let's experience it. Your life is intended to be joyous. The very cells and molecules and atoms of your being are vibrating in tune with life. Your whole life is the delight of the divine. Simply notice the spontaneous, open laughter of a little child, and you see the powerful joy that is within everyone, including you. How long has it been since you laughed? Has it been more than a couple days for some of you? More than a couple hours? Well, you laughed at one of my jokes, so you're already on the path to recovery, so that's good. When you're not feeling joy, you may be depleted or depressed. First, rest. Then plug into spirit. Plug into what makes your heart sing. Take some time in nature or play with friends. Start a stimulating conversation or get out your art supplies. Spend time in the silence, feeling your connection with the divine. Then feel your joy come bursting forth. It's not to say that we're not human, that we don't have emotional reactions to our lives. Of course we do. It's not to say that joy is better than sadness or happiness is somehow higher ranking than anger. But what it does say to us is that joy is separate from the emotional. It's not from the outside, right? Joy is one of those feelings. It's like love. It comes from within us. It's a way of being in the world, not just an emotional response. It's a way of appreciating life, even in its difficult times. I can have great joy even at a memorial service because I am surrounded by family and friends who are all talking about love. So you see this idea that we live in joy. Yes, there is a sense of laughter and spontaneity and a lightness of being. But there is also a foundational joy that we come from, that we can tap into no matter what's happening. And it will always eventually bring us back to our laughter and our lightness of being, because we are all of those things. The key is not to forget when you're down in the dark that light exists, right? And joy is the way we can stay connected to that part of ourselves no matter what. All right. Word, ideas, life, Florence Journal, 365. Life. Page? 77. After a certain number of years, we are likely to get into a rut. This is Ernest talking. I like the way he talks. Accepting the false belief that one is getting old causes the creative imagination to act as though he were old. If we are some part of life, how can we grow old unless God also grows old? Michelangelo was made superintending architect of St. Peter's when he was 72. At 92, he said he was still learning. One of our greatest psychologists says that it's a mistake to believe in the time-honored doctrine that childhood is the period in which one learns most readily to read, write, speak, and understand a language. In an investigation conducted some years ago by a Chicago physician, in which he investigated the lives of 400 of the most outstanding men and women who ever lived, he discovered that their greatest achievements were accomplished at the average age of 50, and that many of them did their best work after they were 70 or 80. So if you've ever said, or heard yourself say, or heard someone else say and believe them that they were too old for something, they were wrong, you were wrong, you're wrong. It's not true. We live in a finite corpus. You know, we have a body that does what it does here in the material world, absolutely. Sometimes people's minds disconnect from day-to-day life. We call it dementia or Alzheimer's or maybe a head injury, and there doesn't seem to be that same ability to live in the world and of the world in the same way. Yet our age-related thinking is most often just that about who we are. It's the way that society tells us that we are. You know, my girl likes to go over walls and through mud pits and crawl under barbed wire and all that stuff. And now she likes to row. You know, she's out there in the little skinny sculls rowing like crazy with all of her friends. I think she's crazy. She's cute, but she's crazy. But what it tells me, you know, she gets up there, she runs those Spartan races and she places first, second, or third in her age group. Okay, she doesn't compete with the 20-year-olds. There is a physical difference, at least at this point in our evolution. Our bodies come and go, right? That's just kind of how it works. But there's no, I can't get over the wall because I'm in my late 50s. There's no, oh, I shouldn't even try that because, you know, after all, I'm older now. Right? We, again, have choices. And how we look at something makes a difference. Go on YouTube, look up 90-year-old yoga teachers. You know, look up 75-year-old weightlifters. It's amazing what you'll see. It's amazing what people can do. It's amazing I have a friend who's Dutch. She had moved back to Holland to help take care of her mom. And the first thing she did was start riding her bicycle everywhere because that's what you do in Holland. You ride 50 miles, no big deal. Now, mind you, if I tried to ride 50 miles today, it might take me 4 days. But that doesn't mean I can't. It doesn't mean I'm too old to. It doesn't mean it's not possible. I'm thinking about Marley, who's a flight attendant, and how there used to be a mandatory retirement age for flight attendants. Actually, if you got married or pregnant, that was the end of that story, right? Not anymore. I'm not going to tell you how old she is, but she's not 22. She's still flying. Because there's no limit except here. And if your body only does certain things, there's still no limit to your creativity. There's still no limit to what you can learn. There's still no limit to how you can transcend in your own life. That is infinite. All right, 2 more. Word. Page. Relative. The relative is that which depends on something else for existence. In religious science, the relative is anything we experience with the 5 senses of sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. While the relative world may appear as conditions separate and apart from the all, capital A, It is not. God is all there is. In the beginning there was only God, so who desired to be more fully expressed? Start again. In the beginning there was only God, who so desired to be more fully expressed that out of itself it created form through which to do so. Hence the relative. The relative is really another term for the body of God. God is absolute and relative. Okay, so I know when I first started Science of Mind, the whole idea that God had an opinion about anything just didn't sit right with me. That way of saying it, God wants da-da-da-da-da. It's like, yeah, that's not quite how I understand life. That's how a person would say it about, I want something. So God, in my image, God wants something. But when we look at the creative process, which is what this symbol is, the circle that represents all of life, everything that is, and we see that from the invisible, that's the top section, that's spirit, that's first cause, that's that divine intelligence we talk about, things move into form, that bottom section. And form is transitional or relative by nature. It comes and it goes, so it eventually goes back into the invisible. You think about it, a tree comes from the seed, it grows, eventually it dies, returns to the earth, becomes more trees. This is the cycle, the creative cycle of life, whether we're creating a painting or nature is creating something, or we are creating or being created out of life. So what I'm hearing in this is the idea that, I'm going to pull it up again so that I get my words right, that there is a first cause, which is one of the names Holmes uses for God. There is a substance that all things are made up of. He used to call it the ether, which used to be a scientific term, which we don't really use anymore. But it's this idea of the energy of all life that you can find in all things. And while we are familiar with this physical expression of life, with our physical selves, with what we can see and touch and hear, there is beyond that what everything came from. There is within us the ideas that are not yet in form, but yet are real to us, are still the intention and direction and emotion that we have. So we live in a world where everything is relational, bigger, smaller, right? Taller, shorter. We measure everything in relation to each other. This person is related to that person, is related to that person. But life is not relational. The energy of life is not relational. What we call God or the absolute or the universe is not relational. It is absolute. In other words, love is love is love is love is love. No matter where it is, no matter who has it, no matter who's using it, no matter who's ignoring it, it's still love. So the spiritual is that which is beyond form. And whether you believe that God wanted to express itself in form, or whether you have a sense of the energy of life expresses in many different ways, including form, you still have this idea that not everything has to relate to something else. Some things just are. And our little ego brains don't like that. It's just really too hard to get our minds around that there's just things that just are. Not because we do anything, not because we believe or don't believe. They just are. And we're part of that. And that's actually a good thing because that means the possibilities are endless. All right, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed our little New Thought journey, a little potpourri. I'll have the books out after service in the foyer if you want to just kind of flip through. And some of them we have in the bookstore, some of them we can order for you if you'd like. And if you have any questions on any of these, just let me know. And it's funny because these 6 books I've used, for decades now. I have hundreds of books. And I'm always adding new books, and people are always giving me new books. And I saw a Facebook meme that made a lot of sense to me the other day. It said, I don't think of that stack of books that I'm going to read someday, as because, there's always a stack of books you're going to read, right? Jeff's gave me one for Christmas last year. I haven't even looked at it yet, but I'm going to read it someday. He says, instead, think of it like your wine cellar. You're saving it for that perfect moment and that special occasion, and then it will reveal itself to you. So happy travels in your exploration of all that we teach. Thank you for this morning. Namaste. All right, let's take a moment in prayer. Breathing in. Feeling all of the ideas and the energy sort of moving around, swirling around, ping-ponging around. And knowing that this energy of life, this excitement, this newness, is meant to fill and fulfill us, is meant to inspire us into new thoughts and creative ideas and action. For what I know about this life is that my life is the life of spirit. It is one of beauty and order and wisdom. It is a life that is love and peace expressing. And as that's true for my life, it's true for everyone, that these things do abide in and as each one of us. And I speak a word for discovery, for curiosity, for that energy of life that pulls us into something new, that shows us a new vista. I call forth that ability to open up to something different, unafraid, to explore, to care deeply, to live fully. For what I know to be true, that as I approach life with enthusiasm, life responds in kind. That as I say yes to a new direction or a new idea, as I consider a new possibility, the universe continues to pour its life into me, into those areas of newness that I might expand and grow and become more of myself, more of who I am meant to be in this world. For the nature of life is life-giving. And as I know myself and make my choices, I open the door for others to do the same. For as one moves, so do we all. There is a blessing and a joy in the success of everyone that I know, in the growth of every new idea, in the possibilities that come forth from each and every heart and mind. For in God there is no big or small. There is simply life. And so I celebrate life as me, as you. I celebrate this energy of discovery and consideration and curiosity. I celebrate the expression of love and joy and peace and wisdom and clarity and order and all that is of the absolute here in this everyday world. And I call forth in me an openness to let that energy flow through me, as me, that I might be all who I am meant to be right where I am. I know this to be true of life. I know this to be true of everyone that I meet. That this energy of life, when let flow, unrestricted, is good and more good and only good, for it is all God. And with a deep sense of gratitude for life unfolding, I simply let it be so, and so it is. Thanks for playing with me. All right, let's do our affirmation, which you'll find in your program. I'll say each sentence and invite you to repeat after me so our friends at home can join us. The activity of spirit inspires my mind and flows through my actions. Life lies open to me, rich, full, and abundant. And so it is. All right, let's welcome a little more music. We have Dennis and Leslie coming back up.
Yes, it's time to have some fun. All right? Okay. And Leslie's here to help me out and help you out with this. Set on God, and I say love. You say love. I say peace. You say peace. I say God. You say... Okay, here we go. And it's love, that you're feeling, love, that you're dreaming of, that created us. And it's love, that you're feeling, love, that you're dreaming of, that created us. And it's one for the money, two for the show, three to get it ready. You can let it go. You got to get dialed in. You got to get revved up. You get dialed in. You got to get dialed in. You got to get revved up. So put the pedal to the metal with the gear shift set on God. Set on God. Here we go with peace. Ready? And it's peace, that you're feeling, peace, that believes in peace, that can set us free. Oh yeah, and it's peace, that you're feeling, peace, that believes in peace, that can set us free. And it's one for the money, three for the show, three to get it ready. You can't let it go. You got to get dialed in. You got to get revved up. Get dialed in. You got to get dialed in. You got to get revved up. Put the pedal to the metal with the gear shift set on God. Set on God. You can make it in your mind, manifest it in your life now. You can make it without trying, 'cause it's already there. Woo! It's already there. Last time, here we go with God. Ready? And it's God, that you're feeling, God, that you're praying, God, that created us. Oh yeah, and it's God, that you're feeling, God, that you're praying, God, that created us. And it's one for the money, two for the show, three to get it ready. You can let it go and get dialed in and revved up. You get dialed in. You got to get dialed in. You got to get revved up. So put the pedal to the metal with the gear shift set on God. Set on God. Okay, school is in session. Let's review. Ready? And it's love. And it's peace. And it's God. I can hear you. That's good. Let's do that again. And it's love. And it's peace. And it's God. All right. And it's done. Thank you, Leslie.
So the line is put the pedal to the metal and your what set on God? With the gear shift set on God. Okay. Yeah. It is a driving song. I figured you just wrote it for me because it says you got to get revved up. See what I did there? You like that? You know, I practice at home in front of the mirror. I just want you to know. All right, let's take a moment in all this joy and laughter and be grateful for all of the contributions that we all make to keep our community together. As a little announcement today, your tax statements are out in the foyer, so if you want to grab that on your way out, you are helping us to be good stewards because we're not spending money on postage because you have your statements. You know, next year we may even go high-tech and just email them, but for now it's on paper. Please do me a favor and check them. This is our first year with our new chart of accounts and our updated QuickBooks application. So if there's something that you feel that you gave that is not on this list that should be counted, please just let us know. You can leave a voicemail for Andy on the church phone number. You can text me. You can talk to a board member. We'll get it straightened out. But they are ready to go, and hopefully that will, you'll answer it. And then you can give some more, because here we are and it's time for giving. So know with me that our gifts go out into the world with the energy that we give it. So when we give in love, what we're doing is we're spreading love in the world, and it can only come back to us in that way. So say with me our prosperity affirmation, if you will. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. For those of you in the room, there are baskets by the doors on your way out. And for those of you online, there is a donate button, or you can mail something in if you'd like. I also want to remind you that your practitioners are always available to support you in prayer, whether it's just to stay centered and get a little pick-me-up for yourself, or you're dealing with an issue that you'd like some spiritual support on. You can leave a written request in the prayer box up front here, or a confidential message on our phone line. You can also email prayer@claremontcsl.org. prayer@claremontcsl.org. That's a confidential mailbox, and our practitioners will take your request into prayer. All right, so we have a couple things going on here. Wednesday night gateway, meditation at 6:15 in the practitioner room. And this week, this Wednesday coming up is First Wednesday, so it is a meditation night. So after your pre-service meditation, there's meditation in the chapel as well. So you'll be like all meditated up, all right? So join us at 7 in the chapel on Wednesday night, or come early at 6:15 and join Nisa before service, and then move to the chapel at 7. How many of you were able to attend the Nisa's workshop yesterday, the Spiritual Mind Treatment Vision Board? Have fun? It sounded like it was really, really rich and enjoyable. Anybody have a comment? Anything you got out of it? God is everywhere. Well, that's good to know. That's great. That's great. All right, so speaking of workshops, the second class of our 3-part series on the Enneagram is this afternoon. Drac will be conducting that. Now, if you didn't go to the first session, but you're already familiar with the Enneagram, maybe you know what your numbers are already, you can jump in this week. If it's something brand new to you, you might want to just wait for the next cycle, because it's a little hard to jump in the middle if you haven't had that foundational piece. So, but for those of you that were here last week, it's continuing today at 12:30. Drac is here, so if you have questions, you'll find him at the coffee table after service, because that's one of the things he does for us. And we thank you for coffee in the foyer. Don't we thank him? Yes. That was all his idea, by the way, with a little help from our hospitality team, but isn't that just the lovely thing to do? All right, we have our annual meeting coming up February 19th at 12 after service here. How many of you have been to an annual meeting before? Okay. So if you haven't been to an annual meeting before, it's not as painful as it sounds. We tend to have a good time. we do talk about all the fun stuff like our budget and board members and things like that, but we really have a good time doing it, and it's a great way to kind of know where the community is from a process perspective, from a business perspective. You know, how are we doing? How do we, keep the lights on? What you can do to help. And this year, I really want to encourage you to come prepared to participate. I'd love to hear your ideas on how we might reach out into our community with this fabulous teaching beyond our Sunday service. What else can we do? How else can we be in the community? How else might we connect with people where they are? Because I know people still want spiritual support. But if the model of Sunday morning doesn't work for those families where the kids have soccer practice, what can we do instead? What ideas can you think of? What have you seen? Maybe your relatives back east, maybe their church does something different. Just think about it. Let's see what kind of creativity we can come up with. I would love to try different ways to present science of mind in the world as a community, and be open at the top. Be open to what might be new. And our annual meeting is a great place to start talking about that. So hope to see you on February 19th at 12 after service here. Plan on coming. Also, if you are interested in serving on the board, again, another really fun group of people, not nearly as deadly dull as it sounds, I promise you. We'd love to have you. We have a couple of openings coming up. Graham here is in charge of the nominating committee, so he's a good one. If you have some questions, you can tag any one of us that is already on the board. We'll be happy to answer your questions. We'd love to have your support and assistance in, doing what we do and taking care of business and having a good time while we do it. All right. We have foundations class coming up. It will be on Thursday mornings from 10 to 12:30. It begins at the end of February, February 23rd. There's flyers in the foyer and a sign-up sheet out there if you're interested. If you are interested and that time does not work for you, please put your name on the list anyway and talk to Reverend Mary, because it's possible we'll do 2 classes. We may do a daytime and a nighttime. We may do a weekday and a weekend. I mean, we're kind of flexible on that. We just need to know what people want to do. But we really want to have this foundations class. There's a lot of folks that are ready to just jump in and learn something new about what it is that we teach. And for those of you that are ready for a second level class, I promise you, we're going to have one. I just have to find a time that works for the people that are ready for it. So those of you with jobs, aren't you ready to retire yet? It would make it so much easier to schedule things. But in the meantime, maybe we'll do a Sunday after service for a few weeks, like do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, or so. I don't know. I'll think of something. But we will have, it'll be Essential Ernest, which is about Ernest Holmes, the person, but it's also about all of his other writings besides the textbook. Because I don't know about you, but the textbook is a little dry. It's a little convoluted. He's a little wordy. He doesn't use punctuation well. In his other books, it's much easier. So we're going to do an exploration of science of mind by learning about Ernest Holmes. So I'll let you know the dates as soon as I have them. Okay, what else? Flowers. Donated this week by Jerry Thompson, who's not here, but she wanted them to be here, so here they are. Aren't they beautiful? Yes, Glenn. Right. Yeah. So for those of you that use it, it's a way you buy from that particular form of Amazon through Amazon Smile, and a percentage is donated to your designated charity, which has, like for me, I buy on Amazon all the time, and I have Claremont Center set up as my charity. So it's not been a big amount of money. Trust me, I do a lot of shopping. However, all that little stuff adds up. So we'll get, every month or so, we'll get a little $35 here and $40 there, and over the year that adds up over time, especially multiplied by many people. However, Amazon has said that they don't feel that it had the impact that they really wanted it to have. So they're looking at other programs. In the meantime, they said, companies can still do like wish lists on Amazon. So if there's something we really want to get for the center, we might put it out on a wish list, and that might be something that you might want to contribute to. That's a possibility. But yes, thank you, Glenn. That's true. So we have until the end of February. If you've been holding off on buying that new TV, waiting for the Super Bowl sales, be sure you buy it through Amazon, okay? Amazon Smile. All right. Anything else? All right, my friends, thank you so much. Let's stand up, make a circle, sing a little song, and go have some coffee.
Take a look at the person next to you. Say God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me.
me.